Hi, welcome to our webinar today on the Governor's Blueprint, a bottom-up economic development plan for Colorado. I'm Janet Rowland with the Center for Local Government at Colorado Mesa University, and today we're joined by Carrie Linker, who is the Director of Regional Development for the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade. Now, Carrie's been with the Office of Economic Development since January of 2012. Prior to that, she spent 10 years as the Morgan County Economic Development Executive Director. And then prior to that, she was district manager for a four-state area clothing company. So Carrie certainly has great experience both with economic development efforts and running businesses herself, so we're very pleased to have her here. And you know, the governor's bottom-up economic development plan was really developed to ensure that people and businesses throughout Colorado had a voice on how best to help businesses succeed. And I was really quite impressed by the governor when the very next day after he was sworn into office as governor, he was on the road highlighting his plan and sharing with local communities how he wanted to get their participation in his economic development plan. And in fact, he was in Fruita, Colorado, here in Mesa County, the very next day. So I was always very impressed with that. And I'm really anxious to hear more about this plan from Carrie. So Carrie, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you for allowing me to give you kind of a snapshot of where the Colorado Blueprint is at today. Before we go on, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of background in regards to our office, the Office of Economic Development and International Trade. At this point, our office and my role is we really own the Colorado Blueprint as far as implementing it and getting it out into the regions. The one thing that we do want to remember is it is a statewide economic development plan which really aligns all the state agencies that we work with around economic development. But wanted to give you guys a little bit of a snapshot today on what OEDIT looks like, how we measure progress, our strategy, and our role. So on the screen you can see the top line metrics in which we really work toward as far as, you know, at the end of the day, how do we measure progress? One, of course, is net new jobs. Capital investment, we feel that those dollars being invested into the communities are, at the end of the day, almost as important as those jobs. They're very much an equal and work tandemly together. The business ecosystem, that is really, again, deriving and having everybody across the state, local communities, business by business, working together to create that climate in which Colorado can gain a competitive advantage, working well together, collaborative nature. So that ecosystem is something we really look at building and measuring. Customer service for us is very important, and you all on the webinar today are a part of that, who our clients and our customers are, as well as businesses, all the stakeholders around the state who work on the economic development issues. So customer service for us is number one, and we have really deemed that to be a metrics to measure progress by. And then a very simple one at the end of the day is gross state product, including exports. And so those numbers are very important to our economy and to our office, and something we measure and look at quite often. So the strategy for our office very much ties into the strategy of the Colorado Blueprint. And that's the bottom-up to blueprint to business plans. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more for you guys in this presentation. The other is key industries, which we'll speak about, and then the regional development piece. And those two are really the backbone strategy to creating those jobs and all of those top-line metrics that I just referred to. And then the role that we play within economic development across the state of Colorado, one being a convener. Something I do in my role under regional development is bringing together that ecosystem that I referred to and making sure that strategically we are aligned across the state and working toward the same goal and doing that in a collaborative way. The other is deploying tools, resources, people, data, policies, all those things that we're able to do from a state agency and getting it out to our local people and providers as much as we can. So that's what we deem as our role. And then just to give you a little background of what departments are in OEDIT, you can see our global business development. So we've got our business development, domestic business development, international trade, business resources, which is a lot of the SBDC, the Small Business Development Centers, the Minority Business Office, business finance and incentives. We also house the Colorado Tourism Office. And then under Colorado Creative Industries, we have film, television, media, creative arts, and the Colorado Innovation Network. So that gives you guys a snapshot again of the departments that are in OEDIT that touch all parts of the state and all parts of the economy. So let's go back to the blueprint and Colorado's economic development strategy as a whole. Bottom up is where we started, and when Janet referred to the governor being in Fruita the first day he was on the job, was a part of the bottom up process. And that was, we had a team from our office and many other state agencies along with the governor that went out on the road to really bring, and it was region by region, to really bring people together to talk about coming together with a strategic plan for each county across the state. And so during 2011, each county across the state of Colorado were looking at a strategic plan for them. There was a template provided, a lot of technical assistance, and the governor's mission was to make sure that we were getting constituents and citizens from all parts of the county to be a part of the strategic plan. So that took place, and then from there, those 64 counties rolled up into 14 regional plans, and then from there, rolled up into a statewide economic development plan, and that is what the Colorado Blueprint is today. And when you look at that blueprint, it has a lot of 5 to 6 goals for each region are identified, goals and objectives. Then there's strategies and actions behind those. And again, that was derived from people within that region and the local communities. And so those plans really came to life, and that's when my role at OEDIT was added in, to where I really worked with those regions to make sure that those strategic plans move forward and that we are deploying from the state side resources to help implement them. So that's where the bottom up began. Then we went into the blueprint, and I spoke a little bit about that as far as we do have those strategic plans in place. Today we do have regional teams that I'll talk a little bit about working on those plans and helping move them forward. And then from there we felt like we needed to take those really in-depth strategic plans and put together more of an actionable summary to really help pinpoint some opportunities year by year for each of these regions and industries to work on. So today that's where we're at, is the business planning stage, and I'll go into that in a little more detail. So the one thing that I did want to shed some light on to make sure we understand the blueprint as a statewide document focuses on 6 core objectives, and those 6 core objectives did come from the bottom-up county plans, regional plans, and in front of you are the 6 core objectives that we are focusing on as a state in the industries that we have identified across the state as well as the regions. So this is hopefully going to bring some common language for Colorado. So if a business is considering coming to Colorado or they're already here, a lot of times they're going to hear these same core objectives in the same language across the state as far as how Colorado does business. And so when you talk about building a business-friendly environment, it's really that business climate. Is it easy to do business in Colorado? Is it easy to do business in a local community? What are the permitting requirements like? What are the rules and regulations in which you have to do business by? So from a statewide perspective, we're looking at that business-friendly environment, and then we're really encouraging that to happen all the way down into the local communities. Second is the recruit, grow, and retain business. That's just kind of a given. That's pretty much what all of these goals are shooting for, but we need to make sure that we are looking at how we're doing that on a day-to-day basis, and are we being competitive in making Colorado who they are around that. The other is increase access to capital. With that being said, when you look at the banking institutions and there seems to be capital out there, what the opportunity for us in Colorado is making sure that we're connecting those businesses to the capital that's available. And so we need to look at doing that in a more effective way. The other is create and market a strong Colorado brand. I will talk a little bit more about that, but that's something we believe is important to make sure that Colorado is known for who they are as a place to do business. Educate and train the future workforce, I think, explains itself. And then cultivate innovation and technology. So innovation through our Colorado Innovation Network has really been elevated in Colorado. And again, a lot of businesses look at what innovative practices are happening within a state. And so Colorado has actually put together an innovation index that really talks about the innovative practices that are happening in Colorado. So then again, helping to recruit businesses to those innovative practices. And then technology, a lot of things fall under that, but one of the hot spots today is the broadband capacity in Colorado. And so when we are working with these regions, the technology piece for them is looking at the capacity of broadband, and as a state, how can we work collaboratively on that issue. So those are the 6 core objectives in which the blueprint is really based on. And then wanted to give you guys a diagram in front of you to talk a little bit more about the strategy. And so you see the circles at the bottom, and it says state, key industries, and regions. And those are the 3 core things that we believe drive the pipeline. Pipeline being expanding businesses, new businesses coming in, any kind of business activity that's growing our economy is our pipeline. And so those 3 circles need to drive that pipeline. At the end of the day, the pipeline needs to help us meet our top line metrics. And again, those were the 5 metrics that I spoke about earlier. So just wanted to give you a graphic there of what the strategy might look like. It's going to go into a little bit of detail on each. And so as far as the state alignment, when it comes to the blueprint work being done from the state perspective, and these are just very much few opportunities and goals and objectives that have been met, and there are many, many more that you could find on our website, and I'll give you guys that information at the end. But there is a full blueprint report that talks about at the state level what's been accomplished and goes down into the regions as well. But to give you a snapshot, one of the things that we really worked on is called the state agency liaisons, and that's really when we get a prospect or a business into our office, a lot of times we have to interact with other state agencies to get the request for proposal completed. There might be hurdles that a business is going through. So within our office, we needed a point of contact at each of the state agencies to really help us move quickly through the process. So through the Governor's Economic Development Cabinet, they have put together and identified who those key lead people are in each of the agencies that can be accessed quickly to help us meet. A lot of times when we get a request for proposal in our office, a lot of times it can be 48 to 72 hours that we have to send information back to the company. So we really need quick access. And so that piece has come together very well for us. And the other state agencies have really stepped up to help in that regard. The Colorado Economic Forum. We had our first annual forum last year. And what the forum is about is when we work with the 14 industries and the 14 regions across the state, we really start working through issues and opportunities. There's usually one thing that really bubbles to the top that we need to kind of put some muscle behind. And last year we found it was the alignment of economic development, education, and workforce development. And so we've really been working hard to bring together the state agencies all the way down into the local side to really help with that workforce development sector for Colorado. And we really felt like bringing those people to the table is important. And so had that at the forum last year. We will have another forum this year and hopefully tackle one of those issues. But when we talk about those forums, we are bringing together the cabinet level people to make sure that change can happen at the state level in order to impact positive change at the local level. So that's really what the forum does and allows us to do. So Pits and Peeves, many of you may have heard of this report, but it's really an interesting read when you want to understand what are all the regulatory issues that have been looked at for the state of Colorado. I know when the governor came on, one of the big issues for him was, our regulatory environment is very constrictive, and how can we better that from a state standpoint. So DORA has really got on board, and if you go on DORA's website, you can pull up the Pits and Peeves report, and it talks about the up to 4,000 regulatory regulations that have either been looked at, removed, bettered, whatever, to make the business climate healthier for Colorado. So that's a state alignment win that we deem as important. And then Brand Colorado. In fact, if you recall, I mentioned, core objective number 4 is to market Colorado, and this is something that the governor has taken on very seriously and has hired a chief marketing a manager to help brand Colorado. When we talk about that, we're really talking about a place brand, and Colorado is a place to do business. We've got a very strong tourism brand in Colorado. People look to us as a great place to live, and so we really need to showcase ourselves around it's a great place to do business. So right now, as we're speaking, there's a statewide marketing initiative happening, and at the end of the PowerPoint, you're going to see a website you can go to be a part of that. They're really trying to, again, to stay with that bottom-up process. The branding initiative is going out and reaching out to many Coloradoans to be a part of the decision-making on what that brand might look like. The other one, another win for us, is the Aligned Data Task Force. And when we talk about data and we look at the state agencies, and there's a lot of data out there, but we really need to start bringing it to a place for a business, an economic developer, a county commissioner, anybody that would need information on data around a certain issue, certain agency, demographic, whatever it might be, would have access to a database that would allow them to find a lot of answers in one place. So there is a task force that is diligently working on this from a state standpoint, and hopefully we'll see that come to fruition soon. So again, just a few things from a state perspective that are happening from the original blueprint, things that, again, from the bottom-up process that our communities were telling us that needed to be a part of Colorado to make it a better place to do business. So let's go into, if you guys remember, the second circle being the regional development piece. And this is my role within the blueprint and within the Office of Economic Development. And so we're talking about, in front of you is a small map of the state, and you can see the 14 regions, and those are deemed from the 14 planning regions that were adopted by the state of Colorado in 1977. They're the planning and management regions, and so the blueprint really works through those regional lines. But again, we cross the lines many a times when it comes to doing economic development, and so, but this was a great place for us to start. So I do work with all 14 regions on, again, those strategic plans that I referred to, and am convening what we're calling regional partnerships. And those partnerships include that ecosystem you see in front of you, having those people at the table to really look at the economic development environment for that region. What opportunities are there? What issues? What can we be doing from a state standpoint to help elevate that region and their economic development work? The great thing about the regional partnerships and the strategic summaries that we're working on with them, they are all focused on those 6 core objectives that I outlined for you at the beginning. So again, it's getting that common language, embedded throughout the state. So, when you walk into a county or a region, a lot of times you look at an economic development strategic plan for them, it's around those 6 core objectives. So the partnerships have come along very, very well. You can see the benefits in front of you that we've been working on the last year and a half in bringing these partnerships together, getting those people to the table. And I will say that all 14 regions look very different as far as who's at the table, how big the partnership might be, how often we meet. Sometimes some regions meet monthly, some meet every other month, some meet quarterly. So it just depends on their needs, the ability to bring people together and the goals and objectives that they have in front of them. So one of the things I do want to touch on from the outcomes, the strategic business plans are what I spoke about earlier when we talked about bottom up to blueprint to business plans. And so we do have strategic working documents in each of those 14 regions that we're focusing on for 2013. And that document will be something that is looked at every year, updated, and hopefully will be able to allow us to see the progress that's happening in each of the regions. The other outcome is ensuring that we have business-ready communities. And what that means is, there's a lot of recruitment activity happening from our office and the local economic development offices, and we need to ensure, as local government, whoever it might be, economic developers, the state, to make sure that our communities are ready to take on those business opportunities when they come their way. So we're really looking at that in the regional work that's happening. And again, from a state standpoint, we're trying to put resources behind those communities to help them ensure that they're ready to take on the opportunities that may come their way. So in a nutshell, that is what the regional partnerships are about. And we believe that in order to grow the economy, that we really need to be impacting and touching all 14 regions the best that we can to help them move forward. So let's talk about, if you remember, the third bubble was the key industries. And so the strategy for us are really focusing on those 14 regional plans, and then we also have 14 key industries that you see in front of you. And when the blueprint first rolled out and the key industry concept came forward, we really wanted to make sure that we were capturing the entire state as far as economic drivers. So these 14 key industries in front of you equate about 60% of our economy in Colorado. So we felt like those were the 14 that we really wanted to put our efforts behind. And there was a lot of data research done to, designate those 14 and to find out where we wanted to put the most work behind. So you can see, hopefully, in these 14 industries that it does touch every part of Colorado. It was a big lift. I know when you look to some other states, a lot of times they have maybe 5 to 10 industries they focus on. But again, with the governor's vision of a more inclusive Colorado, we felt like we needed to do the 14 to really capture every part of the state. So how we have worked through the key industries, similar to what has happened within the regions, we went to CEO level individuals for each of those key industries and brought them to the table and really talked about those 6 core objectives and what those 6 core objectives mean to their industry. So it was very industry focused. So from that, there was a lot of issues and opportunities from that steering committee, the CEO level steering committee, and from there those opportunities and issues went to a tactical team that really put together teams to help work through those 6 core objectives for that industry. And from that work, there is a business plan for each of the industries, as well as a strategic summary, which looks a lot like the regions, but it is focusing on the industry. Now, I am going to go back because we do have a few of the key industries that we have not gone through the whole business planning session with yet. We still have infrastructure and engineering, energy and natural resources, health and wellness, and transportation and logistics. Those 4 will be launching in the next, I would say, 3 to 6 months. So by the end of 2013, we will have business plans and strategic summaries and very strategic work happening within each of these 14 key industries. So we really wanted to look at how we could tie the key industry networks and the regional partnerships together. One thing through the blueprint is, like I said, they're all speaking that same common language. They're all focusing on those 6 core objectives. But we also felt like we needed to really get a little bit deeper into the industries within a local community. So from that, we went into, we were looking at, what are the industry clusters in the regions? What drives the economy in Region 5, which is the East Central Plains. So we have this very high-level key industry state network that's working on a lot of issues and putting together some very great work to support industries. But how can that small, maybe mom and pop shop in Lyman, Colorado, be a part of this work? So we felt like we needed to take the industry work a little bit deeper into the local communities. And so by doing that, we have really implemented a model for our regions and our communities to look at what we call sector partnerships. And this is a nationwide model that allows an industry within a region to really start focusing on their industry or a sector within an industry. Say it's food and agriculture, and the sector might be more on the food processing side that you wanted to focus on in a region. So we're looking at, deploying some work around the sector partnerships to really help local community industry thrive and to be a part of the conversation and to be able to connect into the statewide network and all the work that's being done at that level. So again, we're just trying to filter the opportunities as far down as we can to ensure that all that work that was done on the bottom up is still taking place, and there's a way to connect the dots in any possible way. So if you look at the benefits and the outcomes of a sector partnership, I think it really explains it well. But one of the things that each industry, was loud and clear was, the workforce piece is a weakness. And so there's been a lot of work, just like I said at the Colorado Economic Forum, there's been a lot of work looking at how we can better align our workforce needs of business with our students, our youth, our graduating people, and how they can become a better contributor to the Colorado economy. So the sector partnership is going to allow us to do that very much again at the local level. And so we had a great sector summit at the beginning of 2013 that really kicked off this model and this opportunity through the blueprint. And the 14 regions have all really engaged and are actually launching sector partnerships within their world to work on. And how they identified their sector partnerships was very much data-driven, very organically developed. So in fact, if we look at the next slide, this is kind of hard to read, but you can see what each of the 14 regions have identified as their sector opportunities. And again, these were derived from very strong data, anything from employment numbers to wages, what might be an emerging industry, what might be our economic driver within our region. So you can kind of see the breakout. And at that sector summit, there were 32 sector partnerships identified statewide that there was opportunity to really grow. And so a lot of those are moving forward today. A lot of regions are saying we just want to do one at first, see how it goes, and then maybe we can move on to another industry. But one of the most important things when you look at that sector partnership is it's industry-led. Meaning industry is at the table, letting all the service providers or stakeholders know their needs, and then we're trying to work to meet their needs. So it's a unique way, but industry is really getting buy-in because they, again, are leading the agenda, and they're not being told what to do, but they're actually saying this is what we need, and then we're trying to derive a plan to help meet their needs. Industry by industry, community by community, and region by region. So we're hoping the sector piece really ties in the key industry network at the local level. So again, this slide in front of you just kind of connects the dots for you. Again, that key industry network is that very high level, state-driven 14 key industry network that, there's a lot of great things happening there from, a manufacturing alliance in Colorado has been created to support the manufacturing industry as an example. And then we go into the regional partnerships, which again is my role within the blueprint. And those regional partnerships are very important because they really talk about all aspects of the region, all aspects of economic development, not just the industry side, but just the healthy climate and what it takes to do business. And then the sector partnerships just take it a step further where you're focusing on specific industries in each of the regions. And hopefully we'll be supporting those regional industry clusters that are naturally there and organically grown. So again, it's just a model that really allows us to bring support and resources into each of the regions, and at the end of the day, into each of the local communities. So if you guys remember, the three circles that we've just gone through all went toward the pipeline. And so wanted to talk to you a little bit about what that pipeline is. And our business development team here at OEDIT is the one that really drives the pipeline piece. They're the ones that are working directly with the businesses coming into Colorado, expanding in Colorado. And so our team, again, we have the domestic team and then our international trade team. And they are all aligned around those 14 key industries. So for example, we have 4 recruiting managers within our office that they all own, 3 to 4 key industries that they really focus on and understand and work with those businesses within those industries. So we believe that's a good approach, and again is tying in the key industry work from our pipeline standpoint. And then, one of the important things on pipeline is the prospects, the opportunities that we get, and how do we support those prospects. And so there's a process and a system that's very integrated into our office, very high level, but it's also very far reaching out to each of the counties across the state of Colorado to really ensure that we're meeting the prospects' needs, but again, trying to find a place for a business and where it makes the most sense for them, but also where it makes the most sense for the state and driving the economy. A lot of proactive recruitment's done within our office to help drive that pipeline. We've got marketing trips that go into states where we believe there's an opportunity to really capture some opportunity. We've got a lot of satellite offices in Colorado that their headquarters might be based in California. So we would make a trip to California to meet with those companies to see if they could have a bigger presence in Colorado. So there are many markets that we do outbound marketing trips to. We do some trade shows as well for prospect outreach. And then the site selector relationships are a big piece of that pipeline recruitment. A lot of companies, especially in the metro area, have site selectors that they work through in order to choose a state or a location. And so our office has really put those relationships high on our radar, and as the site selector knows a lot about Colorado, a lot about who we are and what we have to offer there, it's going to be a good connection to have for them when working with the business prospects that come to them. So those are just a few of the things that we're doing to drive that pipeline within our office to, again, help bring that economic prosperity to Colorado. So I wanted to just give you guys a snapshot of a new tool that we've brought into the Office of Economic Development to help on that pipeline piece. It's an asset map, which is going to allow us within our office to have really an asset map that can be accessed by site selectors, anybody, even you guys on the local government side, to where you can understand a community better, a site better, a building better. It does have a lot of overlays as far as infrastructure. It also has asset overlays like hospitals, colleges, many different things. So we're excited about this tool. Our statewide partners are excited about it because it allows them to put some of their opportunities as far as vacant buildings and shovel-ready sites on the asset map to be accessed and considered for future business opportunities. So that is being rolled out statewide and is something we're proud of and a part of building that pipeline. So that is a lot of information for you guys, and wanted to take an opportunity, I know, to answer questions, but one of the final things here is, most of all, thank you for allowing me to give you kind of a snapshot of where the Colorado Blueprint is at today. You're welcome to contact me if you have any questions or need additional information, but I would definitely direct you to our website. You can see the information there. There is a contact us section that you can go on to and put your information in to get updates, press releases, anything that we generate from our office as far as communication. You're welcome to go on and put your information in there to access that. We're very active on the social media side, so look at that as well. And then the branding initiative that I spoke about, the website in front of you there, that you can actually go on, get an update on where the branding initiative is going, as well as you can actually vote on what the brand might look like or be. So you can take the opportunity to do that. And then the strategic summaries that we spoke about for each of the 14 regions can be accessed on our website, and the address is there in front of you. It's the /regional road tour, and it does have the strategic summaries for each of the regions. And those summaries are really going to give you a snapshot of the 6 core objectives those regions are working on, but it also is really talking about their mission, their vision, what are their 5 key industries, what are their assets they're focusing on, what are the quick wins that have happened in that region. And so it's a very useful, and it's just a 2-sided one-pager for each region, and hopefully for you that are on the webinar, it's something you can find for your region and your area, and it can be a tool for you, but also it will allow you to understand the work that's being done in your area around the Colorado Blueprint.
Great.
So I would be more than welcome to go back on anything and answer questions. So.
Great. Thanks, Carrie. We actually have had a few questions coming in, and I'll just let you know that if you have a question, go ahead and post it right now on the control panel to the right of your screen. You can type in your question, and I'll pass those on to Carrie. One question that did came in that I can answer is, will we get a copy of the PowerPoint? And yes, you will. Everyone who's registered for this webinar, in the next couple of days, I will email out the PowerPoint so you can have a copy of that. We also are recording this and should have it up on the website by next week sometime, so those who might have missed it can catch it later. So one of the first questions, Carrie, was, what are the priorities among recruit, grow, and retain businesses? They went on to say less is required to retain than recruit, and let me see, there was one other. And are priorities different from state versus local?
Well, I would say as far as the priorities for retain, recruit, and grow, definitely, you know, one of the important things that we really focus on is the fact that the businesses that are currently here, we absolutely need to take care of them. So always having that business retention effort happening. So that's a huge priority. Always want to make sure that they're happy doing business here, and if they do have opportunity to expand, that we are helping them with that. As far as the recruiting goes, I spoke a little bit about that pipeline piece, and you could see some of the work that's being happening or the priorities there. One of the things that we really when you have to prioritize or start looking at recruitment efforts, we really look at our existing base and that supply chain. How can we help build that? And so the priority is to start within, but we always want to look at opportunities that fit well within our key industries, what's naturally a growing, emerging industry here, as well as what is our workforce going to support. If we bring in and recruit a company that we don't have the workforce to meet their needs, that's an issue. So, workforce is always something that we consider when recruiting as well. And then was there a second part to that question? I think you said from the local government standpoint, the difference between state and local. I think the priorities at the end of the day are very much the same. I think there's a different way of how maybe counties or the state might do things, but really at the end of the day, they're all working off of the same priorities. I know what the blueprint has done for us is, like I said, really brought those 6 core objectives to be local all the way up to the state level. So again, we're all prioritizing and working on the same objectives to create a healthy Colorado.
Great, thanks. The next question, in developing a business-friendly brand for Colorado, from the business perspective, the past legislative session seemed not to have the same perspective. What is being done to see that legislative activity is aligned?
That's a tough question, and that's something I know within our office. We don't have a lot of control on that legislative side. Our focus is really to work on the business regulatory environment, the business climate that we can control. I know the message, that's gone, to the state legislative side has been very vocal about that piece. And as far as the alignment, I think it's the discussions are constantly happening around that. We're selling a bottom-up, statewide process, a collaborative Colorado, and I know those conversations are happening as we speak. So the legislative piece is a tough one, but we don't own that within our world. And I know the Colorado Blueprint being the governor's document, that would be a fair question to ask. But the message has come across very clear and is coming across through the branding initiative. So I'm sure, like I said, the discussions are happening, and don't have a strong, definite answer on that question. So.
Okay, thanks. Next question was, will you be showing economic data on your website, such as industry sales projections?
The data, yes. Specifically, I don't know that we will have that. The other thing that we do have within our office is a business competitive analysis data, and we have a person that does that within our office. So I know he's been working with a lot of the industries and their regions on getting the data that they need to support their efforts. So it may not be able to be accessed directly from our website. There is going to be some on that Colorado Insight tool, but if there's more specific data needed or wanted, we do have the ability to bring it, in-house and help where we can. So.
Okay. Someone else asked, is there a way to be aware of the people or organizations in the key industry networks?
If you go onto our website, it does have the key industries. When you look at the 14, it doesn't go as far down as that, but we are working on a website portal to where somebody out there can access who is a part of a key industry network as well as who is part of a regional partnership. We're not there yet, but that is one of the things that we are working on. Hopefully in the next 3 months we'll have a website to be able to help with that. More than anything, it's just to make sure that people like yourselves have the ability to connect and understand the work that's being done within that key industry or that region. So that is coming forward. We're just not there yet today.
Okay, thanks. Next one, is the Insight website up to date for Western Slope regions?
It's getting there. I would say it's probably not 100% now. With the Insight, there was a lot of information already populated in the system. And so when you look at community data, all of that information, it should be up to date. The one piece that we are working with each community or county on is uploading vacant buildings and available sites that meet the criteria. And so from a local standpoint, they would be uploading that into the Insight tool. But all of the community data, asset infrastructure overlay, all of that was already populated in there. So my recommendation and we recommend this to all of our partners across the state, is to go into it, make sure that it has the correct information for your community, your county, your region. And we've been very successful with that so far, but right now we are working through getting the site and buildings uploaded into the system. And the Western Slope is working on that as we speak. We've been doing a lot of training with them on how to do it and how to effectively deploy it and use it. So
Great.
it's
Thanks.
getting there. Yep.
Thanks. So from the perspective of a county commissioner, how can I get involved in the Colorado Blueprint process?
Well, I know from from the bottom up process that started a couple years ago. The elected officials were very much a part of that, and some people have really stayed involved. But really, the opportunity for the local county commissioner would be through the regional partnerships. And again, that's the work that I do. So when I go into many of the regions, sometimes we have commissioners sitting at the table with us in some regions, we don't. We definitely encourage that. I think we all know on the phone that in the webinar that you can't do economic development in a silo. It takes many, and local government is a big piece of that. So the link to really connect into the blueprint work is being a part of that regional partnership within your area.
Great, thanks. If there's any other questions, go ahead and submit them now because we're about to wrap up. It's been a great webinar, a lot of good information. Really appreciate your time, Carrie. It doesn't look like you have any other questions, so you must have done a thorough job of answering everybody's questions. Thanks a lot.
Well, I hope so, and I'm more than willing to elaborate more, or if you want to get connected into the regional partnerships, please let me know because I'm the point person on that. So
great, thanks. And as I said, we'll be passing out the PowerPoint to everyone who's registered in the next day or two, and feel free to share that with as many people as you would like, so we can get more involved in the Colorado Blueprint. Again, thanks for your time, Carrie. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Janet.
Bye-bye.
Bye.